All right, we're doing another live stream. A little random midday live stream here. But I wanted to talk to some of you and see how your day is going, how's work, and respond to any questions you might have. Consider this office hours. Ask me anything. So we're just going to continue to wait. Let's let the people roll in. Thank you for the likes, guys. We're just waiting to let this live stream roll on and get a couple people in, and I'll start answering your questions. There's another one of those random live streams, random midday office hours. Ask me anything. And I want to share something cool with you as well. Let me know in the chat message if you can see me okay, if you can hear me and stuff. Hello, Mana. Welcome. Welcome to this live stream. Let's let everybody roll in first and I'll answer your question. I just want people to roll in before I start answering, just so everyone can hear some of these answers, because I'm sure other people may have similar questions to you. All right, so who do we have here? Mana, hello. Amir, what's going on, man? Muhammad, Hamza, Yash, Raj, welcome everyone, welcome. Wow, it's 2:30 a.m. in the morning in India. Raj. Okay. By the way, sleep is very important, so get to bed on time. Set up a set schedule. But I guess it's Friday night over there as well, so you got the weekend ahead of you, so that's cool. Hello, Ashraf. All right, so I'm going to start with the first question that was asked. Mana, you're asking, I want to be SQA. How can I do that? SQA, do you mean like a software quality analyst? Or software quality assurance, is that what you mean? Well, you have to kind of have experience, some coding experience, I would say. I don't teach software quality and assurance, at least as a subject matter, but we do build quality software in some of the courses that I teach in software development. So, you might want to get into the testing side of things and apply for some testing jobs, understand what it is to test software, learn, of course, the technical side of things, how Selenium works. I'm mostly focused on software development. That's what I recommend most people, because that's really, in my opinion, the most rewarding, financially rewarding path to go. Rudra, hello. Hello, Ashraf. Hello, Luke. Kareem, welcome. SpaceX, what's going on, man? From UK. Drade, Yusuf. Rifu, hey, what's going on? All right. So another question. Let's see. I'm studying for the 1Z0-071 SQL exam. I've purchased your lifetime access course. So how much passing percentage I should get to be eligible for your job placement thingy? So that actually, you don't need to take the Oracle SQL certification exam to be eligible for that job thingy thing, which is really just a network of recruiters that I've built relationships over the years. You just have to complete that path and pass my test. I have my own test that you would have to pass in order to be eligible for your profile to be blasted out to those guys. And if you don't pass the test, then obviously it's not going to work. And I require a score of 70 or better. I think the SQL certification exam requires the bare minimum is 65, so you have to get 65 or above, I think, to be certified as a SQL developer, Oracle SQL certification. So hopefully that answers your question. Mustafa, hey, what's going on? Amir, okay, salam brother, okay, I started your SQL program, but I got lazy. Do you think Tableau is the fastest route in getting a job compared to SQL? The thing is, when you get into data, you have to start with SQL because it gives you that foundational knowledge of what tables are, what is indexing, what are relationships amongst the tables, primary keys, foreign keys, how data is structured, how you should think about querying the data. That's really important, and that will go a long way. Even though, yes, you can still be a Tableau developer without knowing SQL that well, you still need to know some basic functions and stuff and just study the Tableau only. But that's not going to be enough, and the fact is that your resume is not going to shine as well as somebody else's who's got SQL experience or studied SQL along with Tableau. So that's why I combine that together. Out of these two courses, the more important one is obviously SQL because it's more foundational, and that's important. So if you got bored of during that process, if you don't like to code, you're saying because you got lazy. So you might get lazy with studying Tableau as well. So you don't want to do that. You want to stick with the curriculum. Just take it one day at a time and commit to it. It takes work. It's not fun, honestly. If you think about it, anything productive in life is not fun. Your desires will be used by the negative state of your mind to exploit things. Like if you want to get some productive work done, your mind is going to come in and say, hey, you know what? You could take care of this later. What's the big deal? Let's go watch a movie or something. And your mind starts to think about how cool that movie is going to be or whatever. And you're like, oh, I'll worry about it later. And procrastination is death. Honestly, it is death. So stay away from that. Don't procrastinate. As soon as you feel like your mind is telling you that you need a break, well, it depends on how much work you have, but you can be honest with yourself and say, okay, I haven't done much work yet. I've only been on this thing for the past half an hour and my mind is already telling me to take a break. At that point, you have to make a decision and actually fight that urge to walk away. Just stay there and try to grind through it. And the flow state takes time to establish, where you have to, when you're studying, you need to get to a flow state. And you don't get that from the first 10 minutes or 15 minutes. It takes maybe an hour to get to that state for some people. And so you need to spend that hour and struggle, and eventually you might get to a point where you're like, okay, I've convinced my body and my mind that I'm not going anywhere. I got to do this. And after that, the flow state will start. So stay away from laziness. Okay, what small project should we start to put in our GitHub? So I would say anything that you like, for example, an idea that you have, for example, Zillow. I presented this idea to in another live stream to a student where I said, why don't you create a crawler for Zillow or Redfin or whatever, these websites for real estate, these real estate websites, and build your own tool, analytics tool. You'll also have fun while you do that. You'll learn something, and that could actually be a product that you can go out and sell and create, be an entrepreneur. It's not fun to just work on a project because of just trying to learn it. That's not fun. You need some kind of motivation, and if that motivation is if you can kind of help yourself by thinking, okay, I can start my own business one day with this, that will go a long way in your struggle and trying to build that thing right and work hard. You might create 3 or 4 versions, and every version that you create of that product, you're going to get 10 times better. So you kind of have to pick a product that you're interested in building and an idea that you haven't implemented, and look at it from an entrepreneurial standpoint, not just a project to learn something, right? So, all right, Mana, hopefully I answered your question as well as Amir. Nadeem, thank you. You're saying hello, Imtiaz. You helped me shape my career. Big thanks. Thank you. Love from Dhaka, Bangladesh. Hey, Preenan. Okay. All right, so Rudra is saying, I already have, and before I get to the rest of the questions, guys, I just want to show you something really cool that I'm very excited about today. On the Instagram profile, Udemy Instagram profile, my story was chosen. So this right here, Imtiaz Ahmad, that's me. And if you want, let's just hear it together. I answer some students' questions.
We're going to answer some of the questions that you have, all while taking a beautiful stroll in this park. Look at them.
And by the way, I'm not a fancy dresser or anything. I wish I had worn a better shirt, but it is what it is. I was just being myself and taking a stroll at the park while answering some questions, and Udemy selected these set of videos to host on their Instagram profile. So really exciting.
This is just absolutely gorgeous, and it's a beautiful day. So let's get to it. The software development space is huge. I mean, there's so many different areas you can get into in tech. What I recommend for newcomers is to start with SQL. It's a language that's used to interact with databases, and data is every company's biggest asset. I mean, it's a key operational piece of every company. And the cool thing about SQL is that it's a narrower breadth of knowledge required to be productive in the workplace versus a full stack software development curriculum that takes longer to learn because there's a lot of different things you got to learn about front end, back end, middle tier, version control, DevOps, all that stuff with the full stack software development curriculum. But SQL it has a lower barrier of entry to be productive in the workplace, and
so that was really exciting when I saw that on their story. Really proud of myself, and I couldn't have done that if it wasn't for you guys. So thank you so much. Thank you for trusting my courses. But yeah, I mean, they have another picture of me here on their profile, so really cool. I'm a Udemy business instructor partner. I wish I was a business partner, but I'm an instructor partner, they call it. But anyway, let's continue on with the questions here. Let's see. Did I miss something? Did I lose my space at my place? Okay. All right, so Hamza is asking, I wish, well, he said, I have no degree, actually. I didn't graduate from high school. I want to know if a couple of certs like Oracle SQL and Java can replace the degree. Thank you. It's kind of hard, to be honest. I want to be frank here. It's hard to get a job in tech without a college degree. It's not impossible. I've seen people do it. I have examples of people that did it. But it's just, it's more work for you. You have to work a lot harder. And depending on, you're saying you didn't graduate high school. So that means that you might be lacking some fundamental skills. So you might need to brush up on algebra and the basics of that to help you with logic. Or maybe depending on whatever work that you do now, maybe that work has allowed you to acquire those kinds of skills. So, it really depends on how good you are. I've seen high school students get top, six-figure salary jobs. Very, very rare, trust me. But I've seen people that haven't even graduated high school that got great jobs. So if you're a smart guy, and if you're willing to work hard, that's more important. Everyone's smart. If you're willing to work hard, then you could do it. It just understand that it's going to be much harder. Unless you show that you have some kind of education, because the HR requirements for a lot of these companies, they vet out people that don't have any degree, so they just they don't even look at their resume sometimes. So you might want to start with a smaller company, maybe work for them for less than what your job title deserves, get some experience, and then once you have experience in the industry, it really doesn't matter what your educational background is. You have some work experience, you could take that to other jobs. Okay, so Movie Hook is saying how to become best in Java development. So how to be the best, it's impossible to be the best coder. There's no such thing. Every coder sucks, including myself, in my opinion. I've seen the best of the best software developers, and then I always see someone else that's better. And obviously that is also a relative term. Some people are good at some things and others aren't, but it really requires uh, working on as many projects as you can, practical projects. And if you really want to be a good Java developer, build a tool, build an idea that you have, that you're passionate about, that could be something that you can, go towards in terms of entrepreneurship. Build something that can bring you money, and you'll be much more passionate about building that, and and learn Java in that process, and you might get really, really good. Okay, and there's a book I recommend. Head First Java is a great book, but that's more of a beginner if you've never learned Java before. But if you want to be the best in Java development, Effective Java, read that. Read part 1 and 2, even though 1 is outdated, but it goes over the history of how Java kind of transformed and became what it is. And you get to learn how to do things in the old way, and then you get to have an appreciation for the new way of how the libraries help you develop software and the new versions of Java, Effective Java version 2, I think. Let me look up that book. I recommend everyone that's a Java developer to read this book, or even a C# developer, because the concepts in here are amazing. You learn so much. Effective Java. Where are we at? Like 4th edition now? Yeah, so I read this when it was the 2nd edition, and then I bought the 3rd one. But I think they have a 4th one now. I've also read Java Concurrency in Practice, but the fact is that although this is a very good book to learn how concurrency works, there's a lot of things that have helped speed up software, and so you don't have to depend on your core concurrency Java development skills. You could rely on tools like Spark or Hadoop to distribute the workload. Or if you're trying to build a search engine, I teach Elasticsearch. So use some of those already built tools rather than trying to build something from scratch, right? And so Java Concurrency in Practice is a great book, very good for interviews, I guess. But the best book I would recommend for being really good at Java is Effective Java. And I think, is there a 4th edition? Let me type 4th edition. Yeah, the 4th edition will come eventually, I guess. Right now they just have the 3rd edition. Oh, here it is, right here, Effective Java. This is the, I think this is still the 3rd edition. So I started reading this book when it was the 2nd edition, and I went back to read the 1st one because I wanted to have an appreciation for the newer libraries. The collections library didn't exist in version 1, so it was generics and stuff like that. So it used very quirky way. It showed very quirky ways of trying to build things, build the modern design patterns in the old language, and that was challenging, but I learned a lot. But yeah, just stick with Effective Java version 3, the 3rd edition. I'm working full time in finance and have a math background. I want to quit for a year to study and work on projects to change my path. Is it enough? You don't have to quit depending on your workload, but I would recommend just study whatever it is that you're trying to do on the weekends and on the side, like every 2 hours a day. You might be surprised once you quit and you lose routine, you might not get as much as you think you will get done. So stick to a routine if it helps, all right? How to improve algorithms. So I've got a course on that on Udemy, as well as on my website, jobreadyprogrammer.com. I've got a course on, where is it? Yeah, practical data structures and algorithms. And this one is also algorithm focused, these two. So check those out. How much can you bench press? That's funny. I'm not that big, even though I look kind of muscular on the camera, but I'm not that big. I could probably do maybe 250. I haven't maxed out in a while though. I like to use high reps. Imtiaz, I know your distaste for front end. Okay. So Rob, hello. You're saying, hey Imtiaz, I know your distaste for front end. I've already learned all of the front end tech, including React, and I'm going to be applying soon. I want to keep learning. What makes sense as a next step. I would say if you've learned React, you probably were exposed to Node.js as well. So that's good. At least you have some server-side experience, I'm hoping. But if you don't, get that server-side experience. Build something in a totally different language, maybe a server-side language, build Java or Python or something, build a project in that, learn how that works, build an API in the back end, middle tier, expose that API to your React application so that you get the full breadth of how to put software together. It's a trap sometimes. If you only learn front end, it could be a trap. So that's why I usually recommend people to start from the back end, start with the data, the most important piece, and then move to the, and then get hired after SQL, and then learn middle tier, server side, build RESTful APIs, and apply the algorithms and data structures, the design patterns that we talk about, construct good software objects, everything my courses teach here. All right, so there's a lot of questions coming in. If I skip yours, I'm sorry. As I'm trying to read as fast as possible here. I don't have too much time today. Okay, so Pranjala Kumar is saying, should I learn first JavaScript or Solidity? Well, it depends on what you're trying to do. There's a lot to take in if you want to get into crypto development, software development in smart contracts and Ethereum and so on, and Solana. There's a lot to learn there. And I would say go with Solidity first so that you're more aligned with what you're trying to do, right? If you want to get into smart contract development, fintech, it's huge. If you know Solidity, you'll be able to find jobs. So go with that first. JavaScript, you want to learn the fun stuff on the weekends, do that. All right. All right, so Luke is saying thoughts on .NET for DeFi. .NET seems popular in general, fintech space. Yeah, it is very popular, along with Java. They're both very popular in the fintech space. But if you want to study DeFi, go straight to Solidity. Go straight to Solidity and improve your skills there, because there's going to be a lot of changes coming in that space. And if you're early, you'll be able to understand how that industry matures over time, and you can really be a veteran. Learn Solana. There's documentation on the Solana website, how to build smart contracts there. Start playing around with this stuff. There's a lot to learn. So I wouldn't invest too much time in .NET in the pursuit of DeFi. Go straight to the actual thing. All right, so let's see what else. Okay, a couple people are congratulating me. Thank you for the congrats. My current skill, OBIEE, is getting outdated, even though I currently have a job. OBIEE, is that Oracle Business Intelligence Enterprise Edition? Did I get that right, Rudra? Yeah, OBIEE is not as popular as it once was, and that's the problem that I have with these vendor-specific products. Because when you invest, you obviously have to invest a lot of time learning anything, and if you invest a lot of time in learning something that could get outdated, or at least if it's a vendor-centric product, vendors don't live forever. You can find a problem in your career, but at least you learned about dimensions, you learned about facts and all that, right? With OBIE, that's data warehousing stuff. So you have quite a bit of knowledge, and I'm sure, hopefully, you have SQL knowledge as well. Not enough, maybe, if you focus mostly on OBIE. But a good transition for you would be to learn Tableau, and I think that would be the best bet for you. Okay, what if I studied something not related to programming like arts? Don't worry, you don't have to learn programming in college. My degree was in accounting. I studied accounting information systems, and although there was a slight area in there that had to do with, tech, very brief area, but it was mostly all accounting, and I hated it. By the time I graduated, I knew that I wasn't going to do this as a career choice. I just had to graduate on time. So I did that, but luckily I was able to find a job within 6 months of graduation in the field of software development. And my first job was actually as a data analyst. I wasn't a software developer. I learned that I learned software development on the job, working as a data analyst. And it's amazing that that model still is so efficient to today. I know people that are doing that. So SQL, by the way, is a language that's like 50 years old. SQL is 50 years old. Python is like 40 plus years old. Okay? Java is like 35 or something years old. These are all they've been there. They've been around for a while, and they're not going to go anywhere, right? And that's what I also recommend most people is to choose careers that have a low time preference, right? You're not you're not constantly looking for the next hottest newest thing and trying to learn it and just getting lost in this framework. Then you're done learning that. Now you have to learn a new one and stuff. A lot of that happens in the front end side of things. So I recommend the back end and learn languages that have been around forever, and well, chances are they'll probably be around for the next 10 or 15 years, maybe longer. So maybe even longer. I mean, Python could be around literally for 20, 30, 40 more years. We don't know, obviously. I don't want to guess as to what has happened, but in the past 40 years, it took 40 years for Python to get to where it is today, and it's one of the hottest languages out there. It took 35 years for Java to get to where it is today, so it's only going to grow. So Karimu is saying, hi MTS, can you tell us about someone who has been studying Java for 6 months and he is still struggling to understand? Yeah, the person is sitting right in front of you. It took me a long time to learn Java. It took me a lot more than 6 months. So if you're struggling right now, that's okay. Like I've said, to be a full stack developer or a software engineer, it takes time. It takes time to learn that. Don't let any coding bootcamp fool you into thinking it takes 3 months. That's bogus. It takes a lot longer. I would say to be a full stack developer, at least an entry level position, takes a year. That's why I recommend people to start with SQL first, because there's only a couple of things that you need to learn, right? It's just one or two different environments, and you focus on SQL, which is a language used to interact with databases, and that's all you focus on. You learn that really well and get a job. You're going to have to know that anyway if you become a software developer eventually. So get your foot in the door and, first in 3 to 4 months, and then continue learning Java, Python, front end if you want, and take a year and then progress in your career. You can always change later. So Movie Hook is saying, thanks, buddy. I will remember your recommendation till my last breath. Thanks, buddy. Oh, thank you. Don't save it till your last breath. There's probably going to be a lot more things to worry about, or not worry about, but a lot more things to care about when you're breathing your last breath. And I hope it's a long, long time from now. All right. Khalid is saying, assalamu alaikum. Wa alaikum salam. Yeah, so someone's recommending do a lot of lead code. Sure, absolutely. That's a good idea. Get as much practice as you can if you enjoy it. Some people learn by implementing their own projects. I was a learner by, I like to build my own things. Like I built, my first app that I ever built was for one of my dad's friends for a gas station to manage how much gas was basically being given to the cars or whatever. This was a long time ago. And it was it was an ASP.NET. That was my first real app that I built. I doubt anybody's using that now, but anyway, brings back cool memories. I'm almost done with, and the pages were ASPX. Now we all use single page applications, right? Unless you go to some government website, I'm sure they're still using the old stuff. All right, so in technology is saying, I'm almost done with SQL course. Should I start learning Python or Java, sir? I would say start with Python because that SQL course on my site is right before the Python course, right? And it's easier to learn Python and try to get a job in that data analysis field. Okay, so Arul is saying this community is great. Thank you, Imtiaz. Thank you. I just joined. Will this video be available at YouTube? Yeah, I leave all my live streams on YouTube. I mean, people say you should remove your live streams. I don't do that. I mean, this is not, you guys are asking questions, and I'm sure so many people have similar questions that can be answered maybe now or into the future. So I'll leave this live stream. It'll be there. So what is your opinion about Power BI as opposed to Tableau? They're both very popular. Tableau, in my opinion, is probably a little bit more popular than Power BI. But the best way to check is really just go to Indeed or Dice.com, check the different jobs, and calculate how many jobs there are for each of those, and you'll know which one's more popular in the area that you live, wherever that may be. So PyTrader is saying, hello, do you have any courses that guide you to step-by-step on how to build multi-page e-commerce site which includes user auth, payment, or what do you recommend to learning to do this? So I don't know if you've taken my Master Spring with Spring Boot course and Spring Web. We do build a multi-page web app in that, and it involves authentication and authorization and a couple of things. The only thing we don't have in there is a payment gateway, and that's really all you're gonna need for an e-commerce site. Everything that I teach in there, you will be able to use to build an e-commerce site. You just won't have a payment gateway, which you can just go to Stripe or PayPal, and just it's really boilerplate code that you can just copy and paste on your website. Honestly, it's not that hard once you understand the foundations of building the app. All right, so brother, I am studying software in university after 2 years. I will graduate, but can I say I am zero in programming? Okay, do you have any advice? So you still have 2 years to go, dude. So you're not zero. You must have learned something. Just keep practicing. By the end of the 2 years, and the fact is that if you really want to be a good software developer, don't depend on your instructor. It's going to be your work, right? The instructor is just there to teach you. The actual downloading of information and practice and reiteration of these concepts you have to do yourself. Okay, Hamza is saying thank you. Anu is saying I love the Java certification course at Udemy. Thank you, Anu. What about ML, machine learning? Abdul Salam. Yeah, so that's popular, very popular, and it's a great field to be in. I've got a course, Python for data analytics and visualization. Right, so you first obviously need to know Python, right? So you learn that first, and then you learn Python for data analytics and visualization, and then also probably learn Elasticsearch, which is a really nice, cool tool to get under your belt because they do aggregations and computations very quickly, and it has ML libraries built in. Also, this Apache Spark with Java course has some ML algorithms that I discuss in there. But really, buy an ML book. Buy a book on machine learning after you're done learning Python and Python for data analytics and visualizations off the site. So Metal is saying, why do you say getting into SQL first before getting into software engineering? Is it a shortcut route? It's not a shortcut route. It is an effective route to be productive in the workplace. If you are a beginner software engineer, let's say you finished a coding boot camp and you develop some software in the coding boot camp or whatever, you just scratch the surface for software development, right? And so when you join a company, they're not going to give you a critical piece of the job. You might be just debugging code for like, first of all, it'll be harder for you to get a job versus someone that has some experience in software engineering. And also there's a lot involved. You're going to get fire hose with too much information if you go to like a short, curriculum of software engineering. So what I recommend is to go get a robust curriculum in SQL, learn data first really well, and start to apply in data analytics type jobs. And you will get work that is more productive for you and for the company. You're going to have a much more important role as someone that works in data, and you're going to be exposed to the overall software development space, interact with the colleagues, understand the workflow, understand where the software developers are, where the QA sits or whatever, how they interact, how is version control managed in the company, how do they have the Scrum meetings, how do they manage projects, how are requirements, so you're getting exposed to the overall software development life cycle or process. And so the way to do that quickly is learn SQL, get your foot in the door in some area in that company focused on data, and then you can spread your wings a little higher, further, and try to learn more and more, and eventually you can be a full stack software engineer. But stopping everything and just focusing on the full stack software engineer curriculum, it's going to take a long time. So I say just focus on one thing very well, and that thing is going to get you employable. So go ahead and get employed in data first. By the way, guys, make sure to like this video. It really helps. Your likes, please keep them coming in. I really appreciate every single like. It means so much to me, so thank you. So Molnay is saying, can you comment on this book, please? And the book is Introduction to Java Programming and Data Structure. I don't think there's so many books with similar titles, so I don't remember reading this one. But what I recommend is if you want to pick a Java book, I spoke about the Java book. Head First Java is really good, and another one is Effective Java. These two books are amazing, amazing books for Java development. Introduction to Java Programming and Data Structure. Yeah, I don't remember reading that book, so I can't really review it. But what I recommend is any other book, just look at the reviews on Amazon. So Avinash is saying your thoughts on iOS developer or mobile app development. Is there a lot of demand for these? Absolutely. Absolutely. There's always demand for iOS and Android app development, for sure. There's plenty of jobs out there for that. Do you have some practical advice for someone in mid-30s trying to learn programming from scratch? I'm struggling, thinking I might be too late to the game. Seems my mindset is working against me. It's a mindset thing. You're in your mid-30s, so you're still relatively young. I mean, think about it this way. You're in your mid-30s, and when do you plan on retiring? 65? So you've got 30 years. You've got 30 years, first of all, so take a breather now. So within these 30 years, you don't think you can learn something that I'm sure you can, and I'm sure you can get really good at it. If you focus on something every single day for 2 to 3 hours, in a relatively short period of time, you could be somewhere far beyond your wildest imagination, honestly. So just put in 2 to 3 hours of work every single day and don't quit. And it's a mindset thing. You have to first believe that you can do it before you even take the first step. You have to believe and see that you can do it first. And if you have a problem seeing it, you have to convince yourself, fake it till you make it, or learn how to change your mindset. You have to see it before you do anything, before you even start, right? You can't move a brick without, you can't lay the first brick without envisioning what you're trying to build, right? If it's a wall, okay, you've decided you're going to build a wall. Okay, you don't lay the brick first and then decide, oh, what am I going to do now? If you're building a house, same thing. Whatever the vision is, if you're building a building, whatever the vision is, you have to have that first, and then you lay the brick, okay? And the fact is that the bigger your vision is, um, the I guess there's less competition the bigger your vision is. But the process is the same, whether you build a wall or a building. So I don't know. Hopefully I didn't get too philosophical there. Thank you for your advice. Yep, going through your course on Udemy SQL. Okay, thank you. Just catching up here, guys. There's a bunch of messages, and some of them are somewhat repeats from someone else that may have asked, so I'm trying to skip them. So if I miss yours, I'm sorry. Okay. Metal saying, you look like a Bollywood star. Thank you. I appreciate that. Yeah, so Igor is saying it's only been 30 years for Python and 25 years for Java. Yeah. Yeah, so it's been decades for both. All right, guys, so excuse me. So Foodie is asking, I have a Node.js online interview tomorrow. Can I reschedule it to next week? Would it make any difference in my requirement? I don't think it should matter. You can tell them that you need to reschedule. It shouldn't make a difference, honestly. Life happens, and you can just tell them that, tomorrow I've got an emergency to tend to, and I can't do it tomorrow. So please reschedule. And the HR person or whoever you're dealing with should be able to be flexible enough to allow you to postpone it for a week or so. If they're not willing to do that, then you might not want to work for them anyway. So Danielle is asking, what's the best way to get into big data? The best way to get into big data is to start with SQL. You have to first learn small data. You have to learn SQL. You have to learn data first and get really good at it. And then learn Python. And then learn Python data analytics and visualization. Because that's now you're heading towards machine learning and big data. So the fact of the matter is SQL is used for all big data technologies. Any new cool tool that comes out, like for example, Hadoop. Hadoop has a SQL API. Why wouldn't it? SQL is known by everyone in data must know SQL. It's a requirement. So learn SQL, learn Hadoop. If you learn, for example, HBase, which is another big data store, it's based on Bigtable or whatever, I don't know, but that also has a SQL API. Elasticsearch now also has a SQL API. Spark has a SQL API. You got to get really, really good at SQL. And then you can get into any of these big data technologies. All right, so Joy is saying, "Hey Ahmad, can I learn database design for a software engineering job? Does one need to learn database design for the job of an architect?" Yeah, absolutely, for an architect. And it shouldn't be that difficult to learn database design. Like, for example, in my Oracle SQL course, I'm just going to ER diagrams. First, taking this entire course is going to get you pretty much there in terms of preparation to understand how to think about designing your data and stuff. But there's a special lecture here on ERD diagrams.
Hi there. In this video, we're going to talk about a very important topic known as ERD.
ER diagrams. So I talk about how to think of relationships amongst tables, right? And items, orders, customers, right? And this is all database design stuff. And you need to build a nice database, you have to know how data should be stored based on the business requirements and how the business runs. So if a company runs in online sales based on monthly memberships or one-time product sales, you have to be able to think, how would you organize a monthly membership type of product versus a single sale product, and come up with an idea to store that effectively in normal form, third normal form. I talk about these sort of things, like, for example, the relationship with students and enrollments and courses and instructors. Like, how would you think about the structure? How would you put the data in there, right? Into for example, a school database, right? How would you build a school database? And that's literally what we're building here. And we talk about deduplication and all sorts of things related to management of proper data. So this lecture is really good, part of the Oracle SQL certification course. I think it's a must. You haven't taken this course until you've taken this lecture, honestly. Yeah, so Joy is saying, I have done complete MERN stack, but want to go to the Java path MERN, MongoDB, okay, Elastic, Ruby, and Node.js, I'm assuming, right? MERN. Yeah, that's an old stack, and that's the thing that I have a problem with these stacks, right? Like, they had the PHP stacks, and like there's now you have React and Vue.js and so on. These are all stacks, and they change all the time, and it's front end and stuff. I'd say if you want to go to the Java path, I mean, my site, Job Ready Programmer, explains what course you should take first, what course you should take second, what course you should take third, and it just walks you through the whole process. All right, so to practice SQL, I'm thinking about installing the free Oracle DB and the Oracle SQL Developer IDE, but I'm not sure if to run it on a VM, VirtualBox, or Docker container. What should I do? If you're using Windows, you don't have to use VirtualBox, obviously, but if you're using Mac, at least as far as I know at the time of this recording, Oracle doesn't have a Mac database installation. It has a Linux database installation, but it doesn't have, even though the Mac is based on Linux, but it just doesn't, it uses a different setup. So you're probably just better off downloading VirtualBox and having a Windows XP image in there, or whatever, whichever operating system, Windows 8 or whatever. I don't even like Windows, to be honest, but download a Windows operating system and there, get that database in there, in that VirtualBox, and practice. All right. So what's your take on alternative languages like Kotlin, Groovy, Scala? Scala is more of a data-driven, big data type language, data science, but Python has won that battle. So it's a functional language. Actually, Scala is a functional language, I think, yeah. Is it? Yeah. I don't have much experience in Scala, and it's frankly not that popular. Kotlin is a bit more popular, and it's used for Android development, but still Java is key. Groovy, yeah, for managing, packages and stuff. 1 second. Let me just check let's check the rankings of these languages that you mentioned, Iger. Remember the site I showed you guys in the previous live stream, TOB Index? So obviously Java's up here. Let's look for Kotlin. So Groovy is here, right? But it's still way down there. It's below R, it's below MATLAB, it's below Classic Visual Basic and Assembly. So it's way down there, but let's continue down. Scala, see, it fell out of hype. There was a lot of hype back in like 2015 or so, 16. And now it's just kind of dying away. Kotlin, 38, so they're not very popular. Stick with Java. So what will be the most demand IT skill in 2022? Blockchain. That's my answer. What do you think about learning MongoDB versus SQL? Well, you can't learn MongoDB and not know SQL, so you got to start with SQL first. Data administration. Learn SQL first and then learn MongoDB. Is it necessary to learn statistics to be a data analyst? No, not really. You're not a data scientist, you're a data analyst. You just need to know SQL very well. And you might need to know spreadsheets very well. But if you're getting into machine learning and data science, then yeah, you need to know some stats. Sorry, I missed your question, Nigel. I don't know where, I must have lost it up there. Yeah, so Arun is saying, hi Imtiaz, I remember you once saying you would be launching blockchain courses. When are they coming? So blockchain is changing very rapidly. It's a very rapidly changing space, and I'm learning it and I'm evolving along as I'm reading these books, and they're already becoming outdated. So I want to make a course that is going to be something that will last. And that's why I'm taking my sweet time as I learn myself and implement it. And I don't want to rush a course just for marketing purposes. That's not my style. I like to build things with low time preference. This Ethereum thing, there's going to be Ethereum 2.0 launching, and it's going to be proof of stake. So let's let some of those changes come in. Let's let that platform mature a little bit, and then I'll have a course on it. Probably next year is what I'm looking at. All right. So Avinash is saying, do you think Swift is one of those new languages we should stay away from? I like how you termed it, one of those new languages that we should stay away from. So one of the new languages back in their time was Ruby, and everyone was like, Ruby is going to be the best thing in the world. And I kind of didn't like Ruby to begin with, even though I've worked on projects with Ruby. But it was one of those languages that was new, but wasn't going to stay. And so we see that Ruby now is number 16, right? Way down there. So Swift is not that. Swift is very popular. Swift is, the thing is, Swift is used a lot in mobile app development, iOS, or iOS apps. So it's still going to be here. I mean, I don't see Apple going anywhere. So, and that's their primary language. Well, Objective-C probably is, but Swift is much easier, and a lot of people use Swift. So, Santiago is saying, do you plan on making more Bitcoin videos? Yeah, I have been making them on my other channel. I have another channel where we talk just for the most part Bitcoin, and we play. It's a fun thing. We play games and stuff. Like the other day we had a crypto game show where we handed out money. So that's pretty cool. Well, I didn't hand out money. I like to offer an opportunity for people to learn something. So people had to figure out the seed phrases for a wallet. And if they were able to figure the seed words out, then they would have access to the wallet. Now they have to figure out how to get those funds out of that wallet, move it into another wallet. And we were playing this game, Pictionary. So I would draw out the pictures, and they would, it was a live stream, so people would guess, what am I drawing, their word, and they would have to look up on the BIP39 list of words, which is like 2,048 words or something, I don't know. They would have to look that word up and think, okay, what word is he drawing? And the first one to get the word correct would basically win for that word, and we'd tally it down eventually, and the person that won was entitled to those funds that we had in that wallet. So it was a cool game, and I'm planning on doing that probably every week, once a week or something, or twice a week. I don't know yet, but that's a different thing. That's more fun stuff for me. That's Bitcoin. I don't want to make this channel is not about Bitcoin. This is about your career. This is about tech. All right, so I love your programming data structures course. Thank you. Hello from Las Vegas. All right. Santiago is asking, what's my second channel? The second channel is called Respect the BTC. Respect the BTC. So Colorado is asking, how fast do I need to type before learning how to code? You don't need to type fast to learn how to code. It's somewhat convenient to be able to type fast. Believe it or not, I didn't know touch typing before I started my career in tech. I had to learn that on my second job, and the way I learned it, because I used to type like this, and my boss one time came and we were debugging something, and he's like, "Dude, you got to learn to use more fingers." And at that moment, I realized, I'm like, wait a minute, I look like a newbie when I do this, even though I can code well. And you don't have to. It's writing code is not a competition of speed. It's a competition of how you can structure your thoughts into instruction for the computer to understand. And so that takes time and thinking. So you don't have to be a fast coder by any means, but it helps, and it makes you look a little bit more professional if you could just do this. I've seen senior engineers that are really good engineers, but they still type like this, with 3 or 4 fingers. So learn touch typing if you want, but it's really not that important as long as you're not a really, really slow coder. All right, guys, come on. None of this shilling of coins. Just take that off. That's total BS. Someone, investment investor, Kishu. Someone saying new token coin name. Get that garbage out of here. I don't want that on this live stream. Okay. All right. So Nigel is saying, bro, you skipped my question twice. I'm sorry. What was your question? Let's go back. Oh, okay. What do you think about HTML emails as a stepping stone to a front-end developer career? HTML emails as a stepping stone to a front-end developer career. So the fact is that you mean you wanna work at a company as a email designer? There's jobs like that where you construct a well-designed email with the different graphics and so on, and you use HTML for that. Sure, that's something you can apply for, and I'm sure you're gonna get offers. There's plenty of email marketing campaign jobs out there. Many companies need those people. Nigel. So Nigel Henry, if I'm pronouncing that right. Absolutely. You got to start with HTML first anyway if you're going to do front end, right? But the fact is that I normally preach that one should stay away from front end because it changes so often. Meaning you should learn it, but don't make that the focus of your career because it changes so often, and you might just be stuck working in a version of Angular that you don't want for like 3 years in a company. You like the company, you like getting paid what you're getting paid. And then when you decide to leave, you leave that company and you realize, wait a minute, I have to learn, the whole landscape of front end has changed. So I have to learn this new thing now and this new framework in Vue.js or whatever. And some of these frameworks are not backward compatible. So that's really annoying. Another thing is, as a front end developer, you might be wasting a lot of time tinkering with why this button is not opening or something, or why this dropdown is not working on this device, but it's working on this device, and you're trying to figure out cross-platform issues, and you wasted 4 hours doing that. What did you learn during that process, right? That's why I normally don't like teaching front end. I don't recommend people to make that the focus of their career. There's a lot going on the back end and the server side, so stick with that. Stick with data, APIs, and there's so many other areas, right, that you can get into. And honestly, front end is a kind of thing that will over time, in my opinion, will become more and more easier to work on. Like, for example, the other day I built this website for that was the fun website the fun channel that I was talking about, right? Crypto game show. I didn't code anything for this. It was just, I just quickly just opened up Wix and dragged things around, and that's it. I was done. a lot of important stuff is happening in the background that the front end doesn't even have to worry about. And you don't want to be stuck in a front end career where it's becoming easier and easier to replace your job. So that's why I don't even teach front end, to be honest. Okay, what do you think about career and data management? That's all we talk about. Yeah, so Igor is saying Microsoft recently announced an AI system that automatically creates, front-end code from pictures. Yeah. So it's only the beginning. I mean, and the fact is that if you're an expert front-end coder, you're not getting knowledge of the business. You probably won't be involved as much with the business. You might only be dealing with this interface needs to look like this, and this dropdown needs to work like that, and this widget needs to be here, and this widget needs to be there, and that's all you get to see, and that's all you get to work on, and you're lost in this little front end silo where you have no real need to interact with the business, to interact with the business requirements. The only thing you deal with is user interface design, and you're replaceable. That's the problem with that. If you're working in a company in a back-end data role, first of all, data is really important. If you're working there, you're not going to be as easily replaceable. That's why I recommend people start with data first. But if you're working on the server side, you build out their enterprise application or something, you have quite a bit of domain-specific knowledge too in the daily work that you do. So you are less easily replaceable, right? Versus someone that only deals with front end. So yeah, those are my 2 cents. Hopefully, guys, I don't want to make this live stream too long. It's already been an hour. This was a random live stream, but hopefully, you guys, the people that weren't able to join, can join on our next one, a random one, whenever that's going to be. But it's going to be on YouTube. I'm going to leave this up there on YouTube so that anyone that comes to the channel later can see. So I'm going to wrap up here. So Ajoy is asking, greetings, sir. I'm a 44-year-old college dropout, this is the last question, which will be the best tech stack to master for me to start freelance. If your focus is to be to work in freelance, to be a freelance developer or something, or something in if you want to create your own consulting company or something, I would say learn Google Tag Manager and ads. Learn how Google Ads and Ad Manager works. That's totally different. That's a totally different space. But I'm just answering your question. You're 44 years old, and you want to pick something that will pay your bills, and you're not wasting too much time learning something. And you don't need to be an expert developer for that. Learn Google Tag Manager, learn Google Analytics, and Google Ads, or Facebook Ads. And you can freelance and make a good living doing that. So Merab is saying, is it necessary to learn, final question, is it necessary to learn complex math behind data structures? The complex math, you might be talking about like integrals and stuff. Those are proofs. You don't really need to know that, to be honest. The math that you would need to know is, like, for example, big O notation, exponentiation, and logarithmic progression. Like, what's the difference? What is something that what's a data structure that or algorithm that has a time complexity of big O of n versus big O of log n, or big O of n squared and stuff like that, or cubed. You kind of have to know those at a foundational level, and that's not really difficult math, to be honest. So, yeah. All right, guys. So I want to thank you for watching. I really appreciate all the likes. Trust me, every single like that you give me, it warms my heart. It really does. So I really thank you for that. Thank you for your time, and I'll see you in another live stream. Thank you.